Alright, welcome back. I hope you're having a good day. This is a variety of a Ficus benjamin. Not really sure which one it is. Could be Rianne, maybe a too little. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but anyway, here it is. And today I'm going to take the wire off of it. I've made some videos on this guy before. I did a little wedge cut and I bent the trunk kind of a technique here, where I took a wedge out of the trunk and bent it just to get a little more movement to it. Worked pretty well. I actually made another video where I wound up, I had it kind of a guy wire from up here holding it in. It was kind of cutting into the branches a little bit. So I wound up having to, I took it off actually and it began to separate, so I had to put another one on there. But on that first video, I do have a lot of the pictures from the history of the tree and everything. I mean, it's just a cutting. I took it like in the summer of 2019. I got some pictures of it from January 2020 and everything. But they're all in the first video. I'll include that link in the description. But today, about 2 months ago, I put wire on it. I've been trying to experiment around a little bit with trying to leave wire on my trees a little bit longer than usual or whatever. I was only leaving them on for a couple months at a time, but I can see that this one has a lot quicker of a growing habit than most of my microcarpa has. It is biting in really, really well. So I'm going to take the wire off. I'm also going to go ahead and take this guy off today. So I'll just go ahead and cut this guy off here. And then this is really dug in now, I tighten that up. I had a pair of pliers, I tightened it up really tight, and then of course it's grown into it too. Scarred just a little bit in there. I'll try to show you guys that later. I am going to leave that branch there when I go to prune it, just to try to heal that. Alright, and now let me try to get some of this wire off here. I don't usually cut my wire off. I do like to reuse it if I can. Wire's off there. I'll take a look at what I got. I know I'd like to get as many of the growing tips off as I can, but sometimes when I go around kind of indiscriminately cutting off every growing tip, I kind of lose some of the branches that I lose track of which branches I should have taken all the way off. Alright, so I tried to get things where you guys can see things a little bit better here. I kind of did this channel to I don't know, challenge myself to improve my skills with the trees and everything. And the most I've learned is about photography. But I do kind of remember when I wired this branch up that it's a bit large and coming straight up, and I was thinking like maybe over time I could get it down a little bit. I know I'll have to take at least this one that's pointing straight up off of there. And just a second ago I was thinking I was thinking I'd go ahead and just take that one all the way off too, but maybe I won't. I'm gonna think about that for a little bit. This one's coming straight down. Got another one here that's kind of coming straight up. This I want for a branch, not part of the apex, and that's got some straight up growth on there. And this one's kind of coming up, but I can wire that down. I don't know if I'm going to get into wiring secondary branches today or just the primary ones. And then I've got this guy here, which I think I can wire down a little bit better than I had it the last time. And then of course the apex. So I'm a little undecided about this branch here, just because it's really, I mean, it's about as thick as I'd like it down here, and I was considering cutting it off, and then it's got this smaller, cutting this one off, and it's got this smaller branch coming off of there, and of course that'll provide taper in that. And I wouldn't have to have so much pressure on that wire to keep it down. But now that I took the other growth off, I still may leave that there. I'm going to go ahead and tip prune everything like I was planning on. Well, I say a little sign of thrip right there. I didn't see any before as I was getting ready to bring it in. Somebody asked me the other day about bringing bugs and stuff inside when I do this work indoors. You know, a lot of people keep their tropicals inside, and a lot of people keep, you know, they take tropicals in and out. But usually the day before, I knew yesterday I needed to get the wire off of this because I could see it was biting in pretty well. And I had a little area in my lanai, I put it, and then I kind of watch to see like if there's any big piles of ants scattering or anything like that before I actually take it inside and shoot the video. That's kind of my bug protection, but I did look at it really closely. I didn't see any sign of thrip. This and my philippensis, which is another kind of a variety of benjamina or whatever, are the only trees I have any problems with thrip on. They tell me on the East Coast that all their microcarpa gets the thrip really bad, but obviously I've got thrip around. But for some reason, it only gets on this and that philippensis. So there you can see I cut the apex back really hard. Another thing when I did, you know, when I actually brought it in the lanai even last night, I kind of looked and just was thinking about my game plan for today. I was considering taking this part of the apex off as it is really straight and kind of allowing it to go over this way. Let's take a look at things here. I think I'm going to go with my original plan with this one And that was, I'm going to take the bigger part of the branch off there. That'll give that some taper coming off. And I won't have to work so hard at kind of with the wire holding it down. It was going to kind of look a little unnatural, I think. If I wire that down, that wound will heal really quick. And this apex really is kind of straight the way it is there. I think I am going to change that. At this point here, I think I'm going to wire it and then kind of make some decisions after I wire it as to what else might need to come off. Really does look funny without that apex, but I tell you what, these trees really, for me down here, they really do grow so quickly that this will become a bush in no time again. Alright, so it's all wired up. A couple of these I didn't cut off there all the way. I ended up crossing a couple wires up here. I shouldn't have, it's too late now. But I'll only be able to leave them on for a couple months, so it's not like they'll be on there forever like that. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and bend some of them into place here. Try to even get a little more movement than I did the last time. Still, this branch here is still bothering me. I thought about wiring it up, but it is kind of coming right out of the top there. I'm going to go ahead and take that off. And I'm not going to take that branch off, but I'm going to get that growing tip there. This is the branch I anchored it to. It had that bigger branch coming up here. Really did take a lot of the foliage away from it there. I didn't realize that much foliage was attached to that. Of course, I also took the apex off, but left this smaller branch in its place. And so it'll come off thick and kind of taper off and get a little bit smaller as it goes. So, I mean, we do want taper in our trees, so that should work. And this, I had these two wired together, and then I wired this one to the apex too. I probably could have just left some wire off the apex. I need to go back and rewatch some of the videos that I've tried to watch on how to avoid crossing wires when you're wiring branches together like that, or you need an anchor. I needed that as an anchor for that too, and I just crossed them in that one spot there. And then the apex, I did want to get the more movement in there. That's why I went ahead and cut it there where it grows the most. It's where it had the most bite in with the wire. And so I'm going to try to bring that actually back up to be the apex. Get a little more movement in there and stuff. And it should bush back out in no time. Probably should take some of these pieces coming straight down out of there. And I think by the time I edit this guy down, it's going to be a really quick video. I might even just go ahead and bring in its little sister and prune it up real quick. I don't have any wire on it, but I did notice the other day it could use a quick pruning. I did want to, right here at the end, just kind of see if I could get this up in here close enough. See here where that scar, where I had that holding down, where I had the wedge cut in there. You guys can see that wedge cut or not. But that's why I left that branch there. Just as that grows, it should create some live tissue just to kind of take care of the scarring in there. I'll keep you updated. Alright, so I'm going to take just a minute here and prune this guy up. This is, I've been calling this one, that other tree's little sister, for a long time. The cuttings were actually taken at the same time. I had them in the same pot for a little while. This one was significantly smaller than the other one, but I had them in the same pot for a little while. And then when, you know, once I realized that they were both going to take, it was one of these things I thought maybe only one of them would take, but they both did. So I went ahead and I put this one actually in something much smaller for a little while, and I had that other one in that big bucket trying to grasp that rock that never worked out, and so I wound up potting that in that other pot. But this, you know, this is actually about the biggest pot it's ever been in. I actually had it in a smaller one than this before. It's starting to get some bulbous roots on there. It's been in this pot for about a year. I was planning on leaving it in for a little bit longer, but it's got that old mix in there. But I am just going to, I've noticed, I was going to prune it out in the yard, and then I thought, well, I've done a video on it before, maybe I'll take it in and do a video on it. But then I think since that video I just did with Big Brother there, really didn't take quite as long as I thought it would. I just go ahead and do them together. Throw this in at the end. Did want to cut way back on top there a little bit, and then around the edges, really all I want to do is kind of get the growing tips and any branches that are like way out of order from the rest of them. There really aren't any, especially by the time I get all the growing tips. These will really push the growth out of the apex before anywhere else. So that's a nice little tree. And try to keep it in a pot about this size for a while. I'm not going to cut the growing tips on this. I talk a little bit about this little branch here in the first video, just trying to hopefully encourage just a little bit of taper. It's got some, but not much. It just really does kind of come up out of there pretty straight. But I figure if I kind of let this go and it actually gets some growth going on there, and again, if I keep the top pruned, then maybe, you know, with it getting, first off, it'll be able to keep the momentum down there, and now it'll be able to get a little more light down there too, or whatever, and some more resources for it. So